Hey guys, thanks for joining me for this 39th episode in Season 2 of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. Special guests on this episode include voice actor Collin Hughes. He will be in the Total Drama Island reboot, and we'll also talk some rodeo memories. We'll also visit with designer Neil Mandt. He's got a new true crime app, CrimeDoor. We'll also visit with WWE Superstar Chavo Guerrero Jr. We'll talk about Young Rock, which airs Tuesdays on NBC. And we'll also visit with actress and author Reagan J. Pasternak. The memoir Griffin's Heart is now available. Of course, if you would, please take the time to subscribe, drop a like, comment, leave some feedback, and of course, share with your friends. Well, I guess technically the reason that we eat food is to live, but the reason I eat entire gallons of ice cream and drink jugs of gravy is because I like to really live. Well, a new survey asked people what foods they absolutely could not live without. In the top 10 are mac and cheese, butter, pizza, milk, bread, bacon, pasta, cheese, burgers, and peanut butter. Now, the survey also found we're willing to go through some pain to eat our favorite foods as well. 60% of people say they sometimes wake up with a food hangover because of what they ate the night before. And 2/3 of people say they'll eat a food they love even if they have an allergy or intolerance to it, like someone who's lactose intolerant will still put down a block of cheese once in a while because it's worth the pain. Next guest on the show, man alive, he's got a lot of our guests seem to have a lot of slashes after their names, and well, he's only got one hat on today. Collin Hughes, and Collin, we'll delve into some of the extra hats that you wear here in a bit, but first off, thanks so much for taking the time to be on the show today.
It's my pleasure. I'm very excited to be here. It's great.
Now, Collin, I mentioned a couple of slashes after your name. Bull rider, rodeo announcer, airline pilot, and now voice actor venturing into live action as well once COVID ends for us. And Collin, tell us, how did you keep the motivation to make those dreams come true?
As a child growing up, there was three things that I knew I wanted to do in life. I wanted to be a cowboy. I rode bulls for 18 years, and a big part of that in the Professional Rodeo Cowboy Association, competing with legendary names like Donnie Gay, Denny Flint, Lane Frost, and on and on and on. And then after I retired from riding bulls, I went into announcing rodeos. I got tired of all the long night drives to set up my sound equipment, just to take it down after performance, to drive all night again to set it up and then announce another rodeo. And so I just thought, I'm going to go back home, and I got my private pilot license in 1980. I traveled with a man named Wayne Hall, who was at one time, I think he was in the top 25 of the PRCA world standings years and years ago. Flew his own Cessna 210, and I thought, man, this would be a great way to get to rodeo. So I got my private pilot license. Then I didn't even use the silly thing until I got my instrument rating, my commercial, my certified flight instructor back in 2000, and then just went from there on until I finally got to fly jets. And it's nothing like feeling that thrust putting you back in your seat when you push those throttles forward, just So you finally had enough of flying, and then you transitioned from there to doing voice actor work. I mean, how did that transition? I mean, that's probably the most odd of the transitions, right? Well, I'd thought about it for quite some time. Rodeo announcing, and I'd done some public speaking. That got me out in front of the microphone. I felt that I'm just so comfortable behind a microphone. I've done stand-up comedy doing, here, Gomer Powell. Gomer's no longer a private. He's a major now. I made him a major for one simple line. When COVID hit, it was kind of, there were some miracles that it seems like, if you can call cancer a miracle, that got me home. On my last flight last year, right before COVID hit, I got home January 22nd of 2020. And the day after, I started vomiting and was sick at both ends, actually. And did that for a few days. My wife took me to the emergency room. Doctors did a scan of my internal organs, came back in and said that they found 2 spots on my kidney. sent me to my urologist. My urologist set me up with an X-ray doctor, radiologist doctor, and one of them was cancerous. And when you hear at the emergency room itself, when they said that those could be cancer, that grounded me right there. FAA does not allow it until you're pronounced cancer-free.
Right.
And so that got me home, and I still haven't got I'm not at risk at this point, so everything's fine. I've been through a surgery, but that alone got me put at home for this entire year, which was a godsend. If cancer can be a godsend, because my wife is at risk. If she catches this virus, I would lose her. And so every pilot friend I know of mine that I've flown with or with other airlines that I've talked with, they've all had COVID and their families.
Wow.
And I was telling my wife the other day that, about my pilot friends, and she just looked at me and told me that I'd saved her life. And that hit home.
Yeah. And COVID, it does everybody different. I mean, myself, my daughter, my wife, we all caught it. I think it was about a month ago whenever we first got in contact with each other. And my daughter and myself didn't have it quite so rough. My wife was, I know. I don't think I can pass it through Zoom. If we do have to worry, I'll go get my gator. Being at home at this time, did it allow you the extra time to maybe pursue some of those dreams that maybe you didn't have time for before?
It did. At first, I sat around watching Netflix all day long.
That stopped?
I can't fly my jets. I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't fly anymore. And then my mind just started to click. And I thought, I found a coach. BZ Collins was the first coach that I worked with doing commercial voice acting. And he was a great coach. And then I went to Chris Carr for animation. And on my website, I've got my demos on there that people just seem to love. So, and it's really this being here at home during COVID has given me the opportunity to get out there and do the kind of work that it is so cool to get behind that microphone and just, I've always loved, if you can't tell, I've always loved talking.
Now, we talked about a gig, and I mentioned my son was a huge fan of Total Drama Island, and the reboot, if you will, you got a role on there. How cool was it when you got the call that you were going to be a part of it?
Well, that was one of my first auditions, actually. From a post on Facebook. Two of the deals that I'm involved with right now are both posts on Facebook. I couldn't believe it. It's Total Drama Oskay Island. Mm-hmm. And I'm a series regular. My voice, he's kind of like, his name is Chief. He's like a drill sergeant. And Total Drama, for those that don't know, is kind of a cut-off cartoon of what's all those shows they do on islands? Survivor.
Yeah, Survivor. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I'm the drill sergeant kind of guy that gives them their orders and tells them what to do and see who's going to survive. And it's, he's this real tough former military person. Says, my name is Chief. Or no, that's not his name. It says, I am Chief. No, that is not my name, but that is what you will tell me. Got it?
That's good stuff. You sound just like him.
Imagine that.
The process of getting into voice acting, I mean, originally what you originally had the concept of what it was going to be as to what it is now, I mean, how much has your vision changed, if you will?
Well, I really didn't have a vision. All I knew is that I had this talent, this gift, if you will, that I've had since as long as I can remember. It started out when I was younger, doing impersonations of people. And I've always been able to do that. And then when I started announcing rodeos and giving talks and doing stand-up comedy, I thought, hey, I think I've got a knack for acting possibly. The other project I'm getting into is called The War at Home, 1989. Mm-hmm. And I just was watching the trailer of it this morning. It is fantastic. It's unique. USSR is coming back in 1989, and they start World War III. And
we all saw it coming.
Yeah, in 1989, this is supposed to be. You better believe it. And these characters are taken from the voice actor's own likeness, from pictures of me. It'll be this character will look just like me. He's a commander on one of the warships in the United States. He'll look just like me. And I sent in some lines a couple days ago, and I told the gentleman I'm working with that if you need me to do any other takes on it, let me know. He says, "No, man, these are perfect." He said that I just had a knack for knowing the scene and getting the scene right, and that just truly humbled me.
Without having all the training for years and years and years, to be able to just kind of throw it in there and get some good feedback. I mean, how cool is that as kind of the rookie, if you will?
Yeah, it's amazing. I've got an agent. It's a non-exclusive contract that I have with my agent down in Florida. And he actually liked me so well that he submitted my name in an audition for one of the Super Bowl commercials even.
Wow.
Yeah, I was blown away by that. I didn't get it, but still, to be considered for a Super Bowl commercial, to me, I thought that was huge.
And obviously here in Southwest Oklahoma, rodeo, bull riding, all that kind of stuff is huge, especially agriculture and all that stuff, farming. I know that when we were messaging back and forth over the last couple of weeks, we have obviously everybody in Southwest Oklahoma that knows anything about rodeo, or the world for that matter, has seen the movie
right.
8 Seconds, Lane Frost. And I know you had a relationship with Lane. And what is maybe something that you knew about Lane, the average American, the rodeo fan, maybe had a total misrepresentation of Lane?
If you meet Lane, he considered you a friend. He was just one of the nicest guys going down the road. I'll never forget two things I remember, some interactions I had with him. Rodeo at Sidney, Iowa, one of the big outdoor rodeos in Iowa. Lane just got a brand new rope. And I'm walking up, unpacking my gear bag, and he just finished up with his new rope. And I look up, I grabbed him by the rise, and he says, "Man, Lane, that's cool." He pulls out his little pocket knife, and he just pokes me in the hand. He says, "Hands off." Oh! And he just had that big old smile. For the people who have never seen Lane in person, the performer that did Lane, Luke Perry, that smile that Luke does, if you didn't know Lane, you'd swear it was Lane.
Yeah.
And he just had that big old grin on his face. And the other memory that I really cherish, the year that Lane died at Cheyenne. At Cheyenne, there's two longos, we call them, for people, who know rodeo. For those who don't know rodeo, there's like close to 300 bull riders entered. So,
right.
And we each get on one bull. We each get on two bulls. And the top 15 for the first two go-rounds goes into what we call the short go. If you watch the PBR, they always call it the championship go-round. And Lane and I had our first two bulls the same days that year at Cheyenne. And Justin sponsors this big, huge trailer. We call it the sports medicine trailer, where there's a doctor, a sports medicine team on board there. We'd always use that to change our clothes. So after our last bull, our second bull on Thursday, we're all back in the sports medicine trailer, changing our clothes. And Clint Bronger brings up the name of some woman that I knew back in Iowa. And she says, "If you ever see Clint, ask him why he's not calling." And so I asked Clint, says, "She's so old." I said, "Well, Clint, she's the same age as I am." And Clint says, "She's in her 30s. I said, "Clint, I'm in my 30s. And my nickname was Goose back then. And Lane, I looked over at Lane, he just had that big old grin on his face. Says, "Yeah, Goose, you're just an old fart." I about hit him. That might have made the story better.
Yeah. What's the camaraderie like on the rodeo circuit? I mean, obviously everybody's trying to get their own, but I know some of the rodeo team here, and it seems like the family, was everybody back in those days still rooting for everybody to do well as well?
Oh, you better believe it. It was amazing. You know, I wasn't one of the big names of professional rodeo, but I'd always, you know, just so accepted. Oklahoma people remember Sam Duvall.
Right.
National finals steer wrestler. I like to pull my rope pretty tight. And Sam, you know, here's this big NFR steer wrestler. Sam, when he was around, he was my designated rope puller. And he was just always so cheerful. I remember it was Pretty Perry, Kansas. I was in a slump, not winning any money. And I was talking to Sam, you know, before, and he just says, I said, man, I don't win any money here. It's time to go home and get a job. And he's no, just enter and win. And then he pulls my rope on the bull, and I'm sliding up on my hand. He's 2-footy. Sam had that stutter. And he was just, you know, that's just the way people are in rodeo. It's just amazing, that camaraderie, the friendship. That's here. Well, here's a really good story. You ever heard of Bobby Brown?
Yes.
Saddle bronc rider Bobby Brown traveled with Monty Henson, 4-time world champion saddle bronc rider. When I first started out in pro rodeo, you know, Bobby's this tough guy. You don't mess with Bob Brown. He's known as a fighter. I was always afraid of him. And I just, you know, he just scared me. And 2015, January 29th, 2015, I lost my oldest daughter to cancer. Before she passed, I started a Facebook page and a GoFundMe page to try and raise some money to get her into Cancer Center Treatments of America. Mm-hmm. I hadn't had that posted up on Facebook talking about it for maybe 2 minutes. My phone rings, and it's Bobby. I said, man, what's going on? And I told him. And I mean, within 5 minutes hanging up the phone with him, he donated $100. It just, you know, I hadn't seen, his nickname was Hooter. I hadn't seen Hooter in 20 years, 25 years. Mm-hmm. And this tough, gristly guy that I was so afraid of as a kid. Just, I mean, I got off the phone with him. I'm in tears. I couldn't believe it. That's the kind of friendships you develop in rodeo.
How hard are the road trips? I mean, obviously, as you get older, they get harder. Is that the way it is?
You know, when you're young and spunky, you know, you can take anything. You bounce back from anything. You know, when you're 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, and so forth. You get past 30, road's getting hard. Yeah. And so on and so forth. And, you know, you can take your licks when you're a kid. I'll never forget Donnie Gay when I first started out at Pro Rodeo, Springfield, Missouri.
Yeah.
I'm on this little Red Bull. I've got a picture of me with him turning back into my hand. And right over my shoulder, sitting on the fence, is Freckles Brown, one of my childhood heroes, judging the rodeo.
Wow.
Whistle blows, this little bull whips me down on his head. So our heads collide. I go back, I go down. Next thing I know, Donnie Gay, 8-time world champion bull rider, is coming up to me, grabbing me by the arm, picking me up, and he looks at me and says, dang, I thought we was going to see blood.
I can hear Donnie say that too. I can so hear that voice, his voice.
Just like, thanks a lot, Don.
Doing the voice acting work, and obviously because of what 2020 was, I mean, how do you set goals moving forward into the new year?
Well, these two projects, you know, are things that really keep me going, that I'm very excited for. Is it okay to show people where to find them at?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, the Total Drama Show is, or is it youtube.com//Chester, CHESTER 801. That's the Total Drama Oskay Island. And then the other one, though, the one that has the likeness of me, where is that? Oh, yeah, it's just Yeah, I can get up there too. Yeah, it's youtube.com/The War at Home.
Ooh, I noticed the emotion that you were driving with it. That's good.
Yeah, The War at Home. There's a fantastic trailer on there that is just so cool. It makes like, wow. My wife is looking at the characters. Man, that's creepy. They look real.
They really do. I was watching it right before we came on, so I'm looking forward to that, and I'm going to jump on. Actually, I'm going to have to send a message to my son and say, you got to check out Chief, and so I'm looking forward to that as well.
Did you listen to my trailers? Or not my trailers, but my voice reels on the website?
I did. I like it. It's good stuff. I'm looking forward to much more.
Yeah, it's the animated one. People can't believe that all those voices are me.
And Collin, do you have a personal website too as well, right?
Yes, I do. It is collintalks.com. That's COLLIN, like my name, talks.com. And, if there's any agents out there that want to contact me, there is a contact click on there. Oh, when I get into live film, my wife says I need to do a film with Queen Latifah. Queen, if you're listening, contact me. Give me your digits.
So you've been just practicing voices all your life? Is that something you've always done?
Yeah, it is. I don't know why I've been able to do, I can get down here like this, or like this. And then the character, I guess, is one of my main go-tos. When I get spam callers, yeah, who is this? What do you want?
I've heard that.
Or they'll say they're one guy says, yeah, I could tell it was a spam call, but he said he was from Chase Bank. Chase Bank. Well, do you know Derek Bank? He lived down the road from me. Yeah. I call that character Amos.
Amos. That's good. That's good stuff. Well, Collin, it has been great having the chance to spend a few minutes with you today. I look forward to seeing some more new works from you in the near future, and hopefully we can have you come back on and visit with us again.
Yeah, I'd like that there, fella. We don't get out much anymore.
Now, when we're working remotely, you can work from anywhere, and after a year of working from home, a lot of people are thinking about just what anywhere really means. According to a new survey, 62% of Americans who are working from home are thinking of moving to another country, and 66% are thinking of moving to a new city in the U.S. Our next guest, and I'm hoping to learn a little bit too, the co-founder of the true crime app CrimeDoor. We've got Neil Mandt on the line with us. And first off, Neil, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show.
Oh, no, seriously, thank you for having me in the program.
Now, Neil, tell us, where did the idea for a true crime app such as CrimeDoor even originate? We'll delve deeper into the questions about the app itself, but where did you first come up with that idea?
So my wife and I were watching a documentary it's called The Staircase on Netflix. It's about a crime. And we were watching it, and I was like, this guy, I think he's guilty. I want to know more about it. And so I started searching on the internet, and it brought up all kinds of staircases for sale and other Netflix shows. And, obviously not what I wanted. And so I had to keep doing searches and searches until I finally had 15 tabs open, and they were from all different time periods in the story. And I thought, wow, how inefficient is this? Because if I wanted to know about LeBron James, I go right to ESPN or Bleacher Report or The Ringer. There's a million places I can go. And we realized there's no place you can go to see that kind of content for true crime. No place in the whole world. And so I thought, all right, well, if you built the ESPN.com for true crime, you'd definitely be servicing a hungry audience. And I have a background in media, so I was confident I could build that. And I also know virtual reality and augmented reality very, very well. And I had an idea of a way to incorporate augmented reality that would give a whole bonus experience. And so we put the two of them together, and then we got CrimeDoor.
Delving into the crime scene, what's the back end look like trying to bring back to life, if you will, the crime scene?
Right. Well, again, we look at our two components. So the app is free to download. Mm-hmm. So when you download the app, you're going to open it up, and there's a map. And on the map, you're going to see like little pins all around you. Now you can zoom in and out of the map and you'll see pins all around the country and even around the world at this point. And any pin you hit on is a case profile. And when you open that up, it's like that ESPN LeBron profile. It has the videos, the articles, the photos, police reports, all of that. So you're starting to really learn about the case. And some of them, not all of them, some have an AR activation. And you can find the AR activations in a number of ways in the app. There's a little door button on the bottom left. It just takes you right to those things. And when you hit that, it opens up your camera and it asks to scan the floor, which you scan the floor, and then a dot appears and then a doorway pops up. And that doorway inside of it, which you can walk into, is the actual murder scene based off of the crime scene photos. So we collect the photos and then we rebuild them in a 3-dimensional program, like the way you make a Marvel movie. Mm-hmm. And then we put it into augmented reality, and then suddenly you got the holodeck in your living room.
Now, for you, the finished product, how hard was it for you to finally sign off and say, we've got it finished? How hard is that for you to do as a developer?
Well, it's never done. I mean, that's the thing. Like, we're continuously iterating on it. Mm-hmm. We get feedback from the audience. We have a lot of things on our roadmap, but to the point where I was like, let's put it out there. I had really been building it for over a year. Wow. I had tested it. My wife and I, we bootstrapped the whole thing. And so, we're literally doing this out of our house during COVID. And by the fall, we had tested it enough, and enough people had said, they're amazed by it. They'd never seen this kind of thing. So we then put it in the App Store for a small beta to get some feedback. And then on January 10th, a year after starting it, we were like, all right, let's put this thing out there. And then within 3 days, we had 60,000 downloads, and we're at about 250,000 downloads right now.
I know you talked about rolling out different CrimeDoors, and we had some new ones that rolled out yesterday, and Tupac Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G. And what was it about those stories that made it so special for the release yesterday?
Well, the date was chosen because it's the anniversary of Biggie's death. And so that we always look at the calendar coming up, and like we have Abraham Lincoln coming up on his death. And so we say, what key things meet calendar? And so that was something we were interested in. We loved the stories because they have very similar scenes. They're both outside in a car, and they're obviously intertwined in a very unique way. And so they're unsolved. We wanted to give it to the public, see if somebody had a new perspective, or maybe someone just wanted to talk finally because time has gone by. Maybe someone who was associated with this is no longer around or is in jail. And so the idea with any of these of solving the case would honestly be the greatest thing we could ever do. And these are two that I think there's somebody out there who maybe could lend some new information.
Now, Neil, if folks want to find more information about CrimeDoor app, the new releases, and all the information, other social media that you got going on as well, where's the best place?
Yeah, so CrimeDoor, it's one word, and we have all the social handles for that. And you could go to our website, crimedoor.com, or of course, if you have an iPhone, go to the App Store to download it, and go to Google Play. It's a free app to download. All of the 2D content is free. The augmented reality doors are either $1.99 per door or $4.99 a month.
Now, Neil, the last question I've got for you is, what's the longest that you found yourself binging in a CrimeDoor so far?
Oh, I spent maybe 45 minutes in one, just really looking at it and analyzing it. And I find I go back and forth. Like I'll go into the door, I'll look at it, and then I'll go and read an article, or I'll look at a video and just kind of get the general consensus. Oh, ABC News says that the shoe is this color brown. Someone else says it's like a lighter tan. I want to cross-reference both of those and see what the actual color should be.
That's good stuff. Again, check out the app CrimeDoor. And Neil Mandt, it's been great to visit with you this morning. Looking forward to checking out the app myself and hopefully catching up again real soon.
Thank you, Cameron. I love that. I appreciate you having me on your show.
Well, this woman was all messed up, and she knew she really wanted McDonald's. That was about all she knew, though. The cops went to a McDonald's in Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania last October after a 29-year-old woman named Skylar Perrin went through their drive-thru several times in a row because she kept forgetting she'd already been there. Well, eventually the staff called police, and when they got there, Skylar failed a field sobriety test, and it turned out she had methadone in her system. Now, she told the cops she had a prescription for methadone, but prescription or not, it's not safe to drive when you've taken it. Now, her children were in the car at the time too, and charges were just filed against her for 1 felony count of endangering the welfare of children, 3 DUI counts, and more. WWE Superstar Chavo Guerrero Jr. And first off, Chavo, great to visit with you this morning.
Hey, Cameron, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Excited to talk about the new series on NBC, and I'm sure you are as well, Young Rock. And Chavo, tell us a little bit about how you got involved in the project.
Yeah, so when I kind of stepped away from wrestling, I kind of had to reinvent myself a little bit. And I'm thinking, well, what do I know? Well, I know wrestling. So I started getting behind the camera and doing shows like Lucha Underground, and then I went to Netflix Glow. And that just progressed to Young Rock. I got a call from Dwayne Johnson's people and was like, hey, Dwayne really wants you to be part of this. You up for it? I'm like, heck yeah, man, let's do it.
What was your initial reaction whenever they approached you with the opportunity?
So the story is that they were greenlit to film in Los Angeles. But when COVID hit and everything kind of shut down, they had to go to Australia, to Brisbane, Australia, to film. So I got a call from Seven Bucks Productions, which is Dwayne's production company, and they called me and said, "Hey, do you know any good wrestling coordinators in Australia?" And I said, "Yeah, me." And they said, "Oh, you want to go?" I said, "Absolutely." They said, "Oh, we weren't sure if you'd want to do this." I'm like, "Absolutely. Are you kidding me? That'd be a great. That's absolutely. I wouldn't want anybody else to do it." So they said, well, we have to get special permission from the Australian government to see if you're an essential worker and stuff. And we got it, and the rest is history, man.
The Young Rock, there's so many young shows out there. What for you separates the Young Rock, and how close to the reality of the Rock that you've known over the years does the show really reveal?
I mean, it's the story of his life, really, but at the same time, it's the story of my life. That's why I grew up the same. I grew up exactly the same as this show, besides the running for president part. But really, God, so much. As a kid, my uncles were, Roddy Piper and Andre Giant and all these different wrestlers. That was people that were just around the house all the time. It's just the way it was. I didn't really think anything different about it. And the same thing grew up. It's really eerily similar.
And for you, in the times that we're living in, Chavo, I mean, how refreshing is it to be able to tell a good story, and one that's not only going to entertain you, but also put a smile on your face and some smiles in your heart as well? Everybody loves wrestling back in the day. The early '80s, late '70s, early '80s of wrestling was a lot of fun, man. All the bigger, larger-than-life characters, and everybody that remembers those characters, and to see it put on screen, that people are just really loving all the wrestlers. And they did the casting. There's such great casting, and the makeup department, they made these actors look like the real guys. And really, really cool to see, and just see them come to life and become these wrestlers. Now, Chavo, for you over the last 12 months, what's been the biggest change that you've made as a result of COVID that maybe you're going to keep implementing in your day-to-day as we move forward?
Everybody had to kind of reinvent themselves a little bit and kind of pivot and kind of make things work, unless you were working from home already, which, I wasn't. So you really had to, I definitely changed my work, not my work ethic, but just how I go about getting work, and my workouts and stuff, and really I kind of had to change it up. But now that everybody kind of went into that groove, and I think you're going to see a lot of people kind of still now working from home now that realize that we can do this from our house, and that's kind of what's going to happen. Except for me, I actually have to go on the road and still wrestling for Hollywood. I got to go somewhere, but besides that, it's been nice to do radio interviews like this and do cameos and do stuff from my couch. It's been kind of cool.
Nothing wrong with that. And speaking of From the Couch, Young Rock, Tuesdays on NBC, 8 Eastern, 7 local time. And Chavo, I want to give you an opportunity not only talk about where people can find out more information about the show, but everything you've got going social media-wise as well.
Yeah, everybody check me out on Instagram, and it's at Chavo Guerrero Jr. You can pretty much see everything I'm doing on that. If you're on Twitter, I'm at Mex Warrior. That's my handle on that. But anything that I got going on, whether it be my beer, I have my own lager out, which is a Mexican lager. I got some cigars coming out. I got a lot of stuff going on. I got a lot of irons in the fire, man. You can check all that out on my Instagram.
It helps when you can run them from the couch, right?
That's it, man. That's it.
Well, Chavo Guerrero Jr., great to visit with you, my friend. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and hopefully we can catch up again real soon.
Yeah, for sure, Cameron. Thanks for having me, man.
Now, President Biden is sending his dogs to his Delaware home after one of them bit a security guard at the White House. Now, maybe the Bidens should hire a qualified trainer and not one of the described on this list of the top signs that your dog trainer sucks. If he has 3 fingers on one hand and 2.5 on the other. It's been weeks and your dog hasn't learned any TikTok choreography. When you offer him a bottle of water, he says, "No thanks, I just slurp some of your toilet." Your puppy still pees in the house, but at least it's in little smiley face patterns. Well, if he's the first result when you Google sucky dog trainers. Other things on the top signs your dog trainer sucks, he bills himself as a slightly less level-headed Piers Morgan. And the final reason, the sign that your dog trainer sucks, is he teaches your German Shepherd to invade Poland. Our next guest on the podcast today, actress and author. That's the slash we're going to talk about a bit more today. Reagan Pasternak. And first off, Reagan, before we delve into the book, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Now, Reagan, we mentioned the book Griffin's Heart, and it's more than just a book. It's a memoir. It's a bit of a journal and a keepsake as well. And Reagan, where did this one come for you, if you will?
Well, it started, oh my goodness, it's crazy for me to say this, but it started over 10 years ago now after I lost my what I call my soulmate animal, Griffin, and I felt completely shattered and heartbroken. Even to this day, I still feel shattered and heartbroken when I have to talk about it or think about it. And I couldn't find the resource that I wanted I was like desperately trying to, it's an isolating thing often, losing an animal, because you don't who you can trust to talk about how much it was hurting. And I was shocked by how much it was hurting me and how much it wasn't kind of going away. And we got another dog and another cat, and we did all these other things to kind of make the pain go away, but it wouldn't go away. And gradually I started figuring out that I wanted to write about it. And then it just kept becoming something else, something more than a book, because I didn't want, I started running into so many people who were feeling the same way as I was. And so I didn't want to be just preaching to them and have this book that they would then, put in a bin after and, be done with it. I wanted them to have something that was almost a tribute to the animal that they lost, as well as hearing my story almost like as a friend with them. And so, yeah, it was a bunch of things together that kind of just, I think about that. I think, how did it all happen? And I don't know. Sometimes things just work out, they just kind of, I don't know, something reveals itself to you, the way it's supposed to be somehow. And I don't know, I'm just happy it worked out the way it did.
Reagan, you mentioned how, as you look back, it's hard to believe it's been 10 years, but how has the loss affected you even to today?
Well, I do think writing the book really helped me. I really do. I feel like I, dove headfirst into the idea of grief and, more specifically mourning a pet. And it just taught me so much. It taught me how to find meaning, and it taught me that it can be more than just pain and sadness, and you don't have to feel isolated. There are so many people who really view their pets as family. And I do believe, I'm not the person to coin this, but I 100% believe that the way out is through. And so you can, kind of get through the muck and figure out why the animal meant so much to you, and what that says about you, what it says about them. And I just find it's kind of a beautiful thing, actually. I've learned to think of grief as a beautiful thing. And, I lost my mom last year, and it was interesting because I just finished the book, and it was just ironic, the whole thing. And I thought, I want to practice what I preach and try to find meaning in that loss as well. And I kind of use the same techniques that I used in the book from my mom, in a way. It's just about exploring what it means to love someone, be it person or animal. Yeah.
Talking also about the effect or maybe what Griffin taught you. What things maybe in your day-to-day life, because I know as we've lost pets in the past, we still see things to this day that remind us, oh, that's Logan, that's Leo. What is it in your day-to-day that brings to mind Griffin?
Oh, gosh. I try not to cry. This is how deeply it affected me. So Griffin was a surprise to me. The whole, I got him as a companion to our other pet because I was away for work so much. And I was like, oh, I want him to have a pet. I want our other pet to have a companion. And when I saw him and met him, I was just blown away by this animal. He was just such an inquisitive, smart, kind little soul. And I'd never really had that kind of attachment so fast. And it was also, there was a lot going on in my life during those years because he died at 7.5. So there was a lot going on in my life. And I think people who love their pets, the way that it sounds like you do and I do. And it is this unconditional love that is so lovely. And because there's no language, it is so, it's just of the heart, and so there is when you love them that way, it is so hard to figure out how to get through it because it's just such a part of your bones. And Griffin was such a part of my bones. He was, just so constant in my life where so many other things were not. And, he taught me how to love in a very pure way.
Obviously, Reagan, in the last year, everybody's been dealing with some sort of grief, of loss, whether it's just their day-to-day life. And this also can transcend over into our daily lives and the losses that we face as well.
Absolutely. I mean, this year has been intense. And actually, it was interesting because we were going to release the book a lot earlier than we did. And then the pandemic happened and I just said, oh, am I being tone deaf? Is this, should I be putting this out when people are going through so much loss? And then what happened was I was, hearing from people who had lost their pets during the pandemic. And so instead of just being, heartbroken or in grief, they were isolated and in grief. And I just thought, I'm not waiting anymore. It just compounds any sad thing that happens when you're, in quarantine, when you're watching the political climate going, everything was it was a crazy year. It was a crazy year for everybody. No matter what side you're on, it was a crazy year. So, I just thought, losing a pet during this time was just compounded everything. And I'm just glad people have it now. I really am.
Now, Reagan, we also talk about the loss of being able to work in the last year as well. How much different is going to set now post-pandemic or amidst pandemic for you? How much different is the look?
Oh, my gosh. Well, I had started reoccurring on a show that shot out in Calgary right before the pandemic. I just flown home right before they closed the border and everything. I'd flown back to Los Angeles. And so that job, I lost that job, they couldn't fly me back and forth to Canada once things started opening. And so I just started a new show pretty recently out here. I'm in Atlanta right now, away from my family in Los Angeles. And oh my gosh, is it different? I mean, you're wearing masks all the time until the very last second of shooting, which is really hard as an actor because you're not seeing people's expressions. And then when you actually do see their expressions, you're kind of taken off guard. You're like, oh, that's what that person's mouth looks like. And so, it's a different thing. But you know what? Everybody's doing their best to stay safe. And I'm actually quite impressed. And I feel so lucky to be back to work right now because as an actor, it is not an easy time for sure. So I am soaking it in and trying to stay in the moment with all of this and the book all at once. It's just been, I feel grateful for sure.
So is it like riding a bike after that much time off or did you have to have a bit of a reintroduction to the craft?
Oh, Cameron, if you had any idea. Actually, I wonder. I don't know, but it would be like that for everybody. Definitely for me, I had full jitters. I'm doing a sitcom here, so it shoots very differently. You rehearse, and then you shoot. And you shoot for 2 days. You shoot in front of a live audience, which is halfway full because of COVID restrictions. But and you shoot. So you basically have a ton of rehearsing, and I was rusty. Thank goodness. By the time it was just like riding a bike again. But oh my gosh, I was kind of like, am I still okay at this job? I don't know anything. But now I'm back of it and loving it again. So yeah.
That's good stuff. Well, Reagan, I want to make sure and let everybody know where to find more information about the book, about all the upcoming releases that you've got coming as well, and all your socials.
Oh, thank you. So Griffin's Heart, Mourning Your Pet with No Apologies. We're available on Amazon. You can go to griffinsheart.com if you want to check it out. You can follow me at Reagan J Pasternak on Instagram. And if you want to send in any tributes to your pet, we are also at Griffin's Heart Book on Instagram. And I'm doing a show called Miss Pat that will be out in the summer, and it's incredibly funny and edgy and silly, and I hope people love it.
Well, Reagan, it has been great to visit with you. I truly appreciate you taking some time out of your crazy busy schedule as well, and hope you have a great rest of your week and that we can catch up again real soon.
Back at you anytime. Thank you.
Well, thanks again for joining me for this 39th episode in Season 2 of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. If you ever have a comment, question, or anything else you'd like to know, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at GQ with Cam. If you'd like to help out in the funding for this podcast, click on over on the website gqwithcam.com/shop. Got a great selection of items that all helps back into the podcast. Of course, if you have a special guest idea, you can email gqwithcam@gmail.com. Again, thanks so much to our good friend Brandon Allen for coming up with our music. We're going to let him play us out. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday.